you've got 2 bolsters. You can do it with 1 bolster and 2 blocks. We're just going to use the 2 bolsters. We're going to do a couple things later that will require 2. So I prefer it with 2 bolsters, but if you're at home, you can do it with 2 blocks. I've got a blanket for underneath my pelvis, which is optional. I've got a salt bag, which is optional, and you will most likely want to have 2 blocks in addition to your 2 bolsters, okay? We're going to start, we're going to bring our backs in nice and close to that bottom bolster, and we're just going to come over the bolster like so. So salt bags are 10 pounds, we want to be mindful of that. Salt absorbs negative energy, which is a good thing. So auspiciously, we fill these things with salt. I'm going to start by putting it on my lower body, so from my pubic bone to my hip bones to my navel. I'm going to bring my arms out beside me, lift up my pelvis, give a little wiggle from side to side, just to traction my low back. And so when I traction my low back, I want to think about pressing my ribs into the bolster so that I can pull my pelvis away from my rib cage and then bring my pelvis back down again. Let's take a block and let's place it between our knees. If you don't have a block at home, you don't need one. We're going to have it at this sort of skinnier width. And then we're going to heel toe our feet apart as wide as we can comfortably. And then we're going to pigeon toe the feet slightly. If we feel our knees, it means that the feet should come closer to one another. Let your arms be out beside you, palms facing up. Anytime we set ourselves up in a yoga class, we want to make sure that we can do this, and we want to make sure we can do that. So we want to stagger with our neighbors, and we want to always set ourselves up away from the wall, right? So you're not going to be like a T with your neighbor. Close your eyes. Feel that weight on your belly and start to breathe into that weight. So when you inhale, your belly is going to lift and expand. And when you exhale, your belly is going to sink, shrink, and contract. Really encouraging your mind to come into your body, into your practice, really finding that breath. Thinking about breathing into your back body, think about breathing into your side body, your hips, think about breathing into your pelvic floor, as well as breathing into that weight. And sometimes it's very helpful for me to just apply a little bit of Samana Vayu at the start of the belly breath, where I'm pulling my abdominal muscles away from that salt bag, and I'm trying to slide them up underneath my ribs to encourage that breath to be pushed back, out, down, and up. Using your mind to slow down and smooth out your breath. Broadening your nostrils. Now that we found the rhythm of the breath, let's begin to count. Inhale, belly expanding, 1. Exhale, belly contracting, 1. Inhale, belly expanding, 2. Exhale, belly contracting, 2. so on and so forth. Continue to count each and every one of those belly breaths. Breath, counting, counting breath, continuously focusing on your body from the inside, counting each and every one of those belly breaths. Let's take 5 more rounds of breath, just like that. If you've lost track of counting, simply begin again. When those 5 rounds of breath are complete, once again, just sitting quietly with your natural breathing. Allowing your fingers to come to your shoulders, lift your elbows, and form some nice big, slow elbow circles as we squeeze our shoulders. So that was 5 minutes of belly breath. It's amazing what that can do to the mind. They say even 10 big breaths can calm our nervous system. Honestly, 3 big breaths can calm your nervous system. So the next time you want to rip somebody's head off, 3 to 10 big breaths. Change direction with your circles. So new moons and full moons, we take the practice and we slow it down and make it a little softer, a little more focused on breath, a little bit slower. Generally on new moons, we're low energy, although when it's sunny like this in the fall, I always get charged up even though it's a new moon. But we tend to be a little bit more emotional, a little bit more fatigued. So it's just a way to just kind of schedule in processing your emotions, letting your body rest a bit. Holding onto those shoulders, let's bring those elbows to touch and then open. Remember, if it's too much, you can just let the hands come off the shoulders a little bit. You can always do a little less, and new moon is definitely a time to schedule less. And then almost like a jumping jack, those elbows are going to go up and down. This is wondering, because I've heard the phone, I thought maybe someone left them. Are they okay? Okay, I'm like, what's going on? And just allowing those arms to come down beside you, palms facing up. You're going to take the block and you're going to place it between your feet. It can be either most narrow width or medium width. And you're going to squeeze that block with your feet. And then you're going to open and close your knees a few times as you squeeze that block. So to start with, we're going to do a creeper pose, which is soles of the feet on the floor. And then eventually we can take it into a cobbler pose if we choose to. Right, so just opening up those knees, pressing those feet into the floor. Think about rooting the elbows, the backs of the hands, the shoulders. Remembering that we can always return to this creeper pose anytime we like, or we can allow the soles of the feet to clap the block and the knees to come apart as we take a cobbler pose. And again, this can be at the skinniest width of the block, or it can be at the medium width of the block. And just using your feet to gently squeeze that block. Remembering, again, you can bring those knees up, back into a cobbler, or you can return to a snow plow if you need a break. We should be a moderate stretch in the hips, and we definitely don't want to feel this in our knees. And going back to that nice, big, beautiful belly breath. As you inhale, feel the belly lifting and expanding. And as you exhale, feel the belly sinking, shrinking, contracting. And so as we start to learn a pranayama practice, which is breathing techniques that yogis use to still the mind and create a longer, fuller breath. It's a very calming practice. We start to count, right? And so it's almost like when you count sheep to go to sleep at night. That works for some people. Counting the breaths can be a very useful tool for stilling the mind. And so once you find the rhythm of that breath into your belly, we're going to go right back into that counting. Inhale, belly expanding, 1. Exhale, belly contracting, 1. Inhale, belly expanding, 2. Exhale, belly contracting, 2. And so on and so forth. Continue to count each and every one of your breaths. Breath, counting, counting, breath. Continuously focusing on your body from the inside. Broadening our nostrils, almost like a bull would broaden their nostrils. It helps me to feel that gentle breeze of breath inside my nostrils, and I think of expanding my nostrils away from that breeze of breath. If you lose track of counting, simply begin again. And if this is feeling like it's not much of a hip stretch, you can put your feet in a cobbler position on top of the block. Again, it can be medium height or low height. Regardless, you're squeezing the feet to one another and you're continuing to count your breaths. Let's count 10 more rounds of belly breath, just like that. In and out through your nostrils. When those 10 breaths are complete for you, zero rush, really fire up your legs, fire up your feet, and slowly lift those knees. Nice, bring your feet onto the floor. Keep your block handy, pick up your pelvis, give a little wiggle. So if this is feeling deep for you, then coming off of the bolsters is a good option at this point. If you're super comfy on your bolsters, you can stay on your bolsters. Sometimes I find with the blanket, people slip a little bit, so if you want to snuggle in a little closer to your bolster, you can. And then we're going to walk the feet away from us as far as we need to pick up that right leg, to externally rotate it, and to hook the right ankle on the outside of the left knee. So I'm going to take some time to describe this. So a lot of us place our ankle bone onto our leg bone, right? Which is not optimum. A, it causes you to twist more to the right, and B, your hips will never open as quickly with this alignment as they will if you just take that ankle a little over to the left. It's like geometry, okay? Triangles work better than, non-triangles for supporting a peak. That's why our roofs are the way they are, right? Flat roofs, real pain in the ass. So you want to have the ankle on the outside of the leg. That really helps, okay? And then if you want less stretch, you walk that left foot away from you. If you want to have more stretch, you walk that left foot to you. You want to feel your hip bones and make sure the right hip bone isn't lower than the left. And you want to be able to move that right knee to you and away from you. We also don't want any wrinkles to ever creep into that right foot to keep that outer knee nice and safe. So really feel like you're pushing that right foot into a block. And then the option is, and this increases the depth quite a lot, is to take a block and place it underneath your left heel. So I'm showing you highest height, but you could do medium height, lowest height, or no height. And remember, just because you started somewhere doesn't mean that's where you need to finish, correct? Press into both feet, good. We're going to interlace our fingers, right hand on top of left. We're going to bend our elbows, and we're going to put our hands behind the back of the skull. And then we're going to bring those elbows so they're right over our shoulders. And then we're going to start with some circles with the elbows. Really exploring that range. Now here we tend to really drop that chin like a texter's neck. I want you to lift your chin up like you're a fisherman's neck, where you're looking at the mountains and the horizon on the ocean. Sit down straight up. And then change direction with those circles, just stirring up that upper back. And then stopping with those circles, we're going to exhale to close the elbows. We're going to inhale to open the elbows. Exhale to close, inhale to open. Keeping the neck nice and long as we do this. I'm just noticing if you're twisting left, if you're twisting right, if the right shoulder moves further faster. So use your eyeballs and just notice if your one elbow moves further or faster. And then take those elbows as wide as you can, but where you can still actually physically see them, right? So you want to be able to see them. And then either keep your eyes open so that you can see them, or close your eyes, but keep them exactly where they are. Big belly breaths. So you see how this knee comes in? Yeah, so we want to try and keep that knee from going in, right? Yeah, you see how you love to twist? There you go. There you go, perfect. It's almost like there's a ball here that you're pulling your knee away from. Big, beautiful breaths. Feet nice and active. Noticing the habit of twisting to the right. And see if you can pull that left femur in to even it out. Such a special weekend, hey? Remembrance Day weekend. Stephen always says freedom isn't free. It comes at, a pretty steep price for some people, and I'm just so grateful for those people that keep us free, right? How privileged are we? So let's just use this class to send, gratitude. To those that sacrifice their bodies, their minds, their lives for others. Let's take 10 more big, beautiful breaths, just like this. Going right back to that counting, belly expanding, belly contracting. And when those breaths are complete, open your eyes and see if you manage to keep the elbows symmetrical. And then just let them kind of relax and melt over the bolster, unless that's too much. For some people, letting them go is a little too much, but on a new moon, sometimes it's nice just to go to that depth without that muscle. And just finding a few more big, beautiful breaths. This time, let's pull our belly in and let's breathe into the upper chest and shoulders. Remembering that you've got a heart to breathe into, the front, the back, the sides of it. The back body, the armpits, armpit, chest, sternum, collarbones, and throat. And then drawing those elbows right over your shoulders, lifting your head, removing your hands. If your foot is on height, the first thing you do is you take your foot off the height, you walk that left foot away from you, you draw that right knee towards your navel to soften the stretch, uncross the leg, open up the back of the knee to flush the joint. And then bend the knee, bring that foot onto the floor, press into both feet, pick up the pelvis, and give it a little wiggle. And then bringing that pelvis back down again. And just let the body relax here, remembering that we can come off the bolsters, remembering we can go up or down the bolster as we come into the other side. So we start with our knees and our feet at hips distance apart. Have your block handy if you're using it, right? Sometimes it's nice to have it kind of placed between the feet like you had it before on the outside. You can walk that right foot away from you as much as you need to get that right leg up, to externally rotate it, and to hook that, left ankle. To bring that left leg up, externally rotate it, and hook that left ankle. Remember, on the outside of the leg bone, right? It just sets you up to release the hips faster. Level up your hips, and then you can slide that right foot to you. You can take your foot and you can move that block at whatever height you want to, and place it underneath your foot. You want to have that heel in line with your right sit bone, and then you can open and close that left knee a little bit, making sure that you're able to sustain what we call a neutral ankle. So a neutral ankle is wrinkle-free, particularly around the bottom of the ankle joint. We don't want any wrinkles in either foot, but it's really important that there's no wrinkles in that left foot. And then level up your pelvis. We're then going to interlace our fingers, this time left hand on top of right, bend our elbows. In this transition, we want to keep the elbows over the shoulders, and then we start to do circles with the elbows without the ribs or the pelvis moving. Remembering, this is where that texting neck kind of gets in here, so lift up that chin like you're a sailor. As we make big, slow circles with our elbows. Change direction with those circles. And then stopping with those circles, use your peripheral vision, open and close your elbows, really looking for symmetry, knowing your habits. One elbow is always going to shift further and faster. One elbow is going to be closer to the body, just because habits in life aren't fair to the shoulders. And then open those elbows to a place that's comfortable, where you can hold it, where they're symmetrical. And then either keep your eyes open to make sure they stay symmetrical or close your eyes and test your mind-body connection. And then bring that breath back into the belly. Inhale, belly expanding, 1. Exhale, belly contracting, 1. Inhale, belly expanding, 2. Exhale, belly contracting, 2. And so on and so forth. Continue to count each and every one of your breaths. Remembering if it becomes too much for your hip, you bring your foot onto the floor before you release the stretch. And opening your eyes, finding your elbows, observing if they've moved, if they're symmetrical, if you've managed to sustain them. And then if it's comfortable for you to do so, let those elbows open completely. Relax your shoulders. Go back to closed eyes if that feels good. Find your neutral neck. Now pull your belly away from that salt bag and feel like you could slide your belly up under your ribs as you breathe into the upper chest and shoulder area. Broaden your nostrils. Find that deep, full breath. Slow down and smooth out your breath as you continue to focus on your body from the inside. Focus on your breath. Breath, counting, counting, breath. the shoulders, lift the head, release our arms. Before we release the left hip, we have to soften the stretch. So we take the right foot, we bring it onto the floor, we walk it away from us. We draw that left knee to our navel to uncross, and we open up the back of that knee to flush that joint. Beautiful. And then bend, bring that foot onto the floor. Pick up your pelvis, give it a little wiggle from side to side, traction it away from your low back. And then moving your hips to one side, roll off to the other side, push yourself up, and then we're going to do a supported child's pose. I'm going to give you a few different options. So those of us with sensitive knees and ankles, like taking your blanket and giving your knees some support and a little bit of height can be really nice. And then you can bring your pillows in like this, and you can pull them in nice and close to your belly, and you can be as high as you need to be. Remembering that this is 10 pounds, not every shoulder's going to be able to do that, right? So that's a really good option. Again, we can get our feet and our butt really close. If we wanted it to be more digestive and our knees were up for it, then we pull this in right into our belly. We wouldn't do that if we were pregnant, and this becomes way more digestive, okay? So that's option A, which is a really good option if you have sensitive knees, okay? Option B, I like to call this the texter's neck, which is a similar one, right? And you can, if you wanted to have a little more hip stretch, you can move this middle bolster forward so the knees come together. And so this is for those of us that have this really prevalent back, that we want to really work on that. So we put our forehead on the bolster, we slide our elbows forward and back. Again, we want to find that neutral neck where the C7 isn't sticking out, and then our neck is like a hammock, curvy, right? The bolster can be, or the blanket can be wherever you want it to be. Third option is going to be your deepest option. So again, you want to make sure your knees are up for this. So you can do knees together, knees apart. Generally, knees together is deeper for the knees. Knees apart is a little bit more mellow in the groin, so it's less likely to pull into the knees. So options are grab your elbows. I'm going to place my elbows on the bolster, my forehead on the bolster, but not my nose. So that's option A. Option B, option C, right? Making sure the back is straight. So we're trying to get rid of this hunchy, hunch, right? So when you're ready, pick your option. So this would be the deepest option. The next sort of deepest option would be, I call it texture neck, which is really nice as well. Good. And then option C, you can have your knees on cross. You pull those bolsters in as close as you can, and you use the bolsters to support the body. And just keeping in mind, an ankle stretch is fine, but we don't want anything excruciating, and we definitely do not want to feel our knees in whatever posture we're choosing. See if you can keep those elbows a shoulder's distance apart in whatever option you're picking. Feet are pointed, and breath is full. I'm just feeling your neck, and you're looking for as neutral a neck as you possibly can. If you're doing option A and it feels like a lot to look to one side, you can always stack your hands and place your forehead on your hands. Adding that bolster onto your back, or not bolster, salt bag onto your back is optional. And then finding your breath. Big, beautiful breaths. Here, we're going to take a great big exhale to empty, and then once we're empty, we're going to fill the belly, then the ribs, then the chest, and then we're going to empty the chest, then the ribs, then the belly. And so this one, we want the elbows to be, so you start by grabbing the elbows. There you go, that can do it. Just see. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's nice, eh? And then once you find the rhythm of that breath, bring these, let's grab this guy. And then grab your elbows first. Yeah, and then put them up here. Nice, this is a really good one for you. I'll just slide this up. It's too much, tell me. And then if you're gonna bring them like this, you gotta make sure that the elbows stay that distance. Nice. So when you're ready, it's belly 1, ribs 1, chest 1, exhale 1, belly 2, ribs 2, chest 2, exhale 2, and so on and so forth. You continue to count your breaths. Carol, if that's too much for your shoulder, try the texting neck one. It's really good. So then if you go like this, and then like this, and then the arms come under, and then you get that external rotation, it's such a nice shoulder release. Yeah, exactly. And then you can move the elbows forward or back to place them the right spot in your humerus bone, right? Humerus bone in your shoulders. Continuously focusing on your body from the inside. Focusing on your breath as you make an effort to count.
Am I supposed to be resting on here or using my strength in my arms?
Resting on there. So you want to bring those in as close as you can. Yeah. It feels like they're too far away, you can always take another one. So we're doing a child's pose though, so check me out. Like your knees are going to come around that bolster as much as possible. Right? And if you feel your knees, you can put padding underneath the knees, like in here too. And so with you, it's probably going to be about here and like this. There you go. It's kind of like what, yeah, exactly. How's that feel?
Okay. Yeah.
As long as you're not feeling your knees, you're good. If it's too much for your neck, then you just do this. If you lose track of your counting, simply begin again. If you're doing something that requires symmetry, swap it up. We're about halfway there. If you need to, this is a new posture for you and the long hold is a lot. Now would be a good time to just come forward and open up the knees if you feel like you need it. Right back to counting those waves of breath. Take 10 more big, beautiful breaths. Remembering, if you feel your knees, you come out of the pose. There's no reason to feel your knees in yoga. If you do, then you come out. When those 10 breaths are complete, you place your hands underneath your shoulders. Nice inhale to bring yourself up. You come into a tabletop position. And we're going to open up the backs of the knees nice and slow. And swapping out both sides. Side to side as many times as you need to release the ankles and the knees. And then we're going to do a T-bolstered back bend. So this one you really have to pay attention to because almost everybody gets this wrong, right? So I'd so love it if we all paid attention, and then I can help less people than if we didn't, okay? So this is a hard one to hear. So this is going to be where I am, right? This is Michelle on a mat. So you're going to set yourself up where the end of your bolster is at the end of your mat here, right? So this would be my wall, okay? And this is in the middle of my mat, right? Everyone's going to want to do this, and then that's going to make me have to correct everybody. So I really want your bolster to be at the end of your mat. This is your wall, okay? And then you're going to sit on this bolster. Now, if anything ever feels like too much, it's too much, okay? So this is an upper back opener. So those of us with a big sort of hunch here, right, like a little bit of a turtle spine, then we want to be mindful of this, right? We want to go slow, and we've got smaller bolsters. So Keith, you'll definitely use your smaller bolster as the spine opener as opposed to a big fatty, right? So then I'm going to come down, I'm going to really lengthen my spine, and I'm going to hold on to the back of my skull, and I'm kind of tractioning my neck. And then I use the bolster to pull my back towards my pelvis. Hoodie is an optimum. I'm going to take this off. And then this is a part that we don't hear. My shoulders touch the ground. My shoulders touch the ground. My shoulders touch the ground. You can see that my shoulders touch the ground, okay? So listen to me. This is too far. I've gone too far, right? This would be very naughty what I just did, right? I'll take off my hoodie so you can see. This would also be naughty. Right? See how my shoulders are not touching the ground. So I have to go really slow until my shoulders touch the ground, but it's right where I'm tight. If I keep going, I'm never going to open where I'm tight, okay? With my feet like this, it's really mellow and neutral, okay? I could also put my feet on the bolster in a creeper pose, which is less neutral. I can also do a sukhasana here, but notice how I'm using my feet to hug the bolster. This is extremely deep, okay? So if it's too deep, we lift our knees, right? We soften the stretch, and we go to a creeper pose, or we go to a soles of the feet on the floor, right? We're not going to repeat this because we've already done this, right? So it's either this, or this, okay? To come out of this, I'm going to walk my shirt, otherwise you're going to get holes, trust me, until my whole back is on the floor. My arms can be like a cactus, but when I'm on it, but most people's arms will be here or lower. But if you can do a cactus on this height, do a cactus, right? That's a work in progress. I roll off to the side to come up. So let's do it together. So we're going to take our bolster and we're going to get it to the end of our mat, really close to the wall, right? It doesn't have to touch the wall, but it should be quite close to the wall. And then I'm going to put my other bolster like a T, like this. And then I'm going to sit on the bottom of this bolster. And if you want to use a salt bag, that can be nice. So have that handy so that you're not searching for it when you're there. And so you start really at the very end of your bolster. So you don't want to be touching the wall, but you want to be close enough, right? So watch those knees. And then you lay down over the bolster, you grab your head, and you hang your head like a hammock, elbows or shoulders distance apart, and you use the bolster to slide the back until your shoulders take the weight and the head comes onto the floor. You can then have your hands on your ribs, or you can do a cactus. But I want you to wait here before you do anything else with your legs. So shoulders on the ground, shoulders on the ground. Keep coming, keep coming. I shouldn't be able to put my fingers underneath your shoulders. Yeah. Your shoulders should be down on the ground. Good. And then the two options are to have your hands on your ribs. So you got to keep coming, Rick, until those. So you want to hold your head, and hold your head, and you want to pull these elbows in. And you've got to keep coming until your shoulders are on the ground. You should be lifting your head. You've got to keep coming until your shoulders are on the ground. Keep
There
coming.
you go.
There you go. That's better.
There you
Nice.
go.
And then we can either do a cactus, right? So then we take our hands away from our head, and we can do a cactus, or we can put our hands on our ribs. And start all the way again, but you have to roll off, come out of it, and start again. There you go. So we want to have these shoulders, yes, good, as long as they're down. Good. Good. And then feel your rib cage. So before you do anything deeper, you can feel it with your mind's eye or with your hands, so you got to keep coming until those shoulders are on the ground. So remember, we're holding our heads, and we've got our elbows a shoulder's distance apart, and we keep coming until our shoulders are actually on the ground. There we go. Perfect. And then we find a neutral neck. So with our rib cage, we want it to be flush so that they're not popping out. So we want to push the ribs down into the bolster. And then we can choose to either do a creeper pose, keep our feet where they are, or we can do a sukhasana pose, which is a cross-legged pose where we're hugging the bolster. Good. And if you're not sure, just ask, right? Good. That will teach you to bring these feet back. Go. Nice. And listening to your back, if it becomes too much, you bring those knees together to come out of it. So come a little bit more. Put your feet on the floor. Yeah. There you go. Is that better? Yeah, there you go. And so do less with your legs. So this is less, right? Hold that, see if it creeps into your low back. Arms lower is less, right? But if this starts to feel like just right, then you can put your feet on the bolster, then you can try the sukhasana if you want to. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. Anybody else feeling like it's too much in a particular spot? And so we'll put the feet on top of the bolster, feet together and knees apart. There you go. And you keep those, nope, that's called a creeper, yeah. So in this, I want to have active feet. So it's either a creeper or a sukhasana squeezing. Big, beautiful breaths. Or feet on the floor, either one. Salt bag if you want it. And we want those elbows in a cactus to be as low as the shoulders. Yep. And if it's too much, you put your hands on your belly. So great pose for releasing the upper back, but if at any point it becomes like it feels like it's too much, then you're gonna do less. First with the legs, then with the body. So if you're in a cactus pose, find those wrists, try and get the wrists to the floor, try and get rid of the wrinkles. Try and have your pinky wrist as close to the floor as your thumb wrist. So a lot of us are still revving motorcycles in our cactuses. See if you can find more of a monkey wrist. And then root the backs of the arms into the floor.
Do that.
There you go. And I think we should bring those knees together and put those feet onto the floor. So bring those, yeah, there's just no need for you to get the deepest possible position. I know, but sometimes with all the tequila and pack smokes feels good. But the next day, not so much, right?
This keeps triggering it.
So then you just, so come up a little higher. So move yourself, bring your arms lower first. Yeah, so hands on the ribs, right? You have two options. If that doesn't release it, slide a little bit more this way. Is that better? Yeah. So it's like, how do I take away? It's like addition, subtraction. Make sense? So if we want to subtract a little more, we'd slide a little more this way. Big, beautiful breath. Nice. So if you're doing something that requires symmetry, now would be a good time to swap it up. Really use those legs, fire up those feet, bring those knees together, then swap. Again, if it starts to feel like too much, you let me know. I can help you make it softer. Focusing on your body, focusing on your breath. bring your arms a little bit lower so that they come hands onto the ribs. Fire up your feet, fire up your legs to bring those knees together. Then you uncross, feet on the floor, everybody, and just wait here. Breathe. Now remember, you're gonna shoulder walk so you don't rip your shirt. Keep your feet actively pushing into the floor and shoulder walk until your entire pelvis is on the floor. And then just wait there. Straighten out your legs. Let the bolster lift your thighs. Lengthen your back ribs if you can. Bring your arms beside you and just let that settle for a moment. Big, beautiful breaths. Is everybody's head on a mat?
No.
No. If it's not, grab your blanket and put your head on a mat. We don't want our head on the hardwood floor. Not a mat, a blanket, or whatever you got. And then you're going to bend your knees, you're going to lift up your pelvis, you're going to slide the bolster underneath your pelvis, and then hands on the ribs, you're going to draw those knees towards your chest. And then you're going to take your knees wider than your ribs. And then you're going to see if you can lift your ankles so that they're above your knees. Now you want your knees and your feet pointing straight out to the side. And then you can either grab your calves or your shins or your ankles or your feet, right? But we want to have the ankles stacking the knees if we can. If we can't, we don't take the hands higher. The only reason our hands would take our feet or our ankles is if our ankles are right over our knees, so the knees go wide. Good. And then you're going to pull down with your hands. You're going to push up with your feet. And your hands can be behind your hamstrings, right? They can be anywhere they want to be. So if you go wider. Yeah, there you go. There you go. And we want to have the ankle right over the knee. Good. Now find those feet, nice active feet. Lift up, pull down. All right, so if we can, there you go. Beautiful. That feels okay? Good. And so this is a happy baby, big, beautiful breaths. And feel like you could push your pelvis into that bolster.
Happy baby.
Kind of. You're saying baby grab his feet. Not so happy non-baby. Don't worry about the bolster if you don't have it. It's no big deal.
Oh, okay.
It's all good. And so it's as if your feet were on a floor and you could push your feet up into the floor. And it's as if there was really heavy salt bags on the backs of your hamstrings and knees going down towards the earth. And so some of us can do a shin lift here without moving the quads, which would straighten the legs. But most of us just keep those knees bent. And there's no need to straighten the legs if you're not already doing a happy baby. But if you're in a happy baby and you can keep those knees stable, then you can think about straightening those legs. If it becomes too much, just bring those feet together, almost like you're doing a child's pose, but on your back. Big belly breaths here. Take 10 more breaths. bending your knees, bringing one foot onto the floor, other foot onto the floor, with your pelvis on a bolster. So if you forgot the pelvis underneath the bolster, you're gonna bring your pelvis back onto a bolster, and we're gonna do another back bend here. So hands on the rib cage. Try and get your ribs flush with your belly like a prairie, as opposed to a mountain ridge, and then slide those heels away from you slowly. Keep the knees and the feet pointing up towards the sky, and then imagine you can lift up the backs of the knees as you root your elbows and your shoulders into the ground. Keep those feet a hip's distance apart. Good. Hip's distance apart. Yeah. And super active. Lift up the knees. Big, beautiful breaths. So anybody who's had a baby the old-fashioned way, this is the business, right? This is gonna straighten your coccyx, because nobody gets out of the old-fashioned childbirth with a non-bent coccyx. And then you want to lift the backs of your knees. There you go. Dig your heels in and lift the backs of the knees. Also, if you've ever fallen down stairs on your booty, you've got a crooked coccyx, and you don't know until you straighten it. So you want to pay attention to your tailbone and how much of a stretch you're getting here. And you have to really be honest with yourself if you require more stretch. Okay? So taking the next 10 breaths, decide whether or not this is a sufficient amount of stretch, or does your body, not your ego, require more stretch.
Where should I be feeling this stretch?
It depends. Everyone's going to be different. You're good. You're always good at stage 1 because you're new. So your body awareness is not at a place yet where you can do anything but the basics, right? Just that, those are just facts, right? Because if we don't feel it, it's not because we're not doing it, it's because we're not using muscles and we don't have a body awareness to it, which is fine. It's just where we're at. So with you, stage 1's perfect always, yeah. Until you start to really feel stage 1. And so if you're staying here, you're gonna stay here, right? If you wanna go deeper, you're gonna bend your knees, push yourself down with your feet, lift up the bolster, remove the bolster, roll off to the side, and I'll show you how to go deeper. All right, so you need 2 blocks, you need 2 bolsters. You're gonna wrap this. So Rick, you wanna stay because you're not gonna go any deeper. Yeah? Rick S. You can use a strap, but we have the blankets. Remember, you gotta put the blankets back the way I like the blankets. That's my full thing. So I've got 2 bolsters, I'm wrapping them, I'm making sure I have a crash pad for my head. You just learn where it goes right about here. You start here, you hold the back. So don't want to be moving your neck if you're doing the back bend, right? If you're doing it, you're off your bolster and you're watching. So then you're gonna slide until the shoulders hit, right? You're gonna make sure that that's good. See how my ribs are flush? And then see how I use my feet to adjust. Okay, so this would be the deeper version. See how my head is on the mat. Right, to come out. All right, so if you're going deeper, you're wrapping 2 bolsters in a blanket. If you're not going deeper, just a nice long hold with this one, but we're not moving our neck, right? Keep those feet active, try to find those feet at hips distance apart. Dig those heels in, lift up the backs of the knees. Once you get those bolsters stacked, I've got almost a full length of a bolster as my crash pad for my head. And then I get my blocks at this height so that they're as high as my bolster. You might have to come down a tiny bit just because you're longer than me with the bolster towards your blocks. Just don't want your head hitting the walls.
You have to take grappling muscles.
Right? And then once I'm here, I sit at the very edge of my bolster. I definitely have a crash pad behind me, right, Enid? So you want to make sure that the blocks are on the end so that you've got, your head's going to be on something cushy. Then I come down, and I just practiced it with the other one. I hold the back of my skull till my shoulders hit. I make sure my ribs are active, and then I bring my heels on, arms out beside me, palms facing up. So in these positions where we're getting this deep shoulder shoulder opening, we don't want to be moving our head. Right, keeping the back ribs pushing into the bolster. Now, those of us that are on one bolster, bring your feet together, and that'll be deeper, if you want deeper. Nope, straight legs, yeah. And then just bring those feet together, the knees together. There you go, but still lifting up the backs of the knees. You want deeper, you bring the legs together. Maybe more time on. Good. Good, two natural births, eh? And that all works now. Big fashion births. Sure does. Good, watch ourselves, right? There's nothing natural about birth.
Or breastfeeding.
Or any of it. It's not natural. Old fashioned. So shoulders take the full weight. Are your shoulders taking the full weight? Doesn't. Oh, they are. Good job. Nice and slow, one leg at a time. Ribs flush, neck straight. So arms have to be low. Yeah, otherwise it brings it. Yeah. And then you push into the shoulders. Setu Bandha, right? It's a supported bridge. And big breaths into the upper chest and shoulders. Nice work, you guys. And if at any point it feels like too much for your back, you bend your knees, arms lower if you can, Dave, like halfway to a T. There you go. And then that just takes it out of the back of the skull. So when our pelvis is lifted, we don't want too much weight in the back of our skull, so our arms are really rooting into the floor, like a shoulder stand. Not higher unless we're really good at shoulder stand. We don't take our arms off the floor. Good. And then just big, beautiful breaths. I love this one for allergies. I love this suspended, held back bend for intention setting. Let's go 10 more big breaths here. And then when those 10 breaths are complete, we're going to bend one knee, put the foot on the floor, bend the other knee, put the foot on the floor, and just wait here. So coming out of this, we want to come out of it slow, and we want to really use our legs. So really pressing into your feet. Find your knees right over your ankles, lift up your pelvis, and slide your bolster away from you. And then bring your pelvis right down onto the floor. And then just wait there and just allow that to release. And you'll notice that you're kind of set up where your chest is a little more open. It's kind of the nemesis to that hunchback. So breathe into that and just feel how fabulous your neck feels. How the shoulders feel relaxed and not being drawn forward. If you can find a neutral pelvis, do. And let's just take 5 more breaths here. And if that was like a really big back bend for you, you're gonna give your legs a hug. If it wasn't, I like to use my feet to move my bolster, to put it underneath my knees so that I don't lose that gorgeous traction I made on my back. But again, if it was a deep back bend, hug those legs, right? Let it release. And then we're gonna go right into Shavasana for a gratitude meditation, Yoga Nidra. So hug those legs as long as you need. You can put, sometimes when I'm doing meditation, I like to use the salt around the head, especially if I'm being, overrun with negative thoughts. So I sometimes use my salt bag as a pillow. Sometimes I like to put it on my belly or my sort of chest, which is common to the nervous system. Sometimes I don't use a salt bag. But they're out and they're fabulous, so feel free to use them. And just find as neutral a spine as you can. And so for those of you that don't know, I think most people know, Yoga Nidra is a subconscious meditation designed to rid ourselves of habitual behaviors, right? And there's our behaviors and there's global behaviors, right? And so being that today and this weekend is such a special weekend, given the state of the world, let's do a community meditation, a community intention, right? So when that intention comes, let's just use the statement, world peace, world peace, world peace. So taking the next minute to adjust whatever you need to adjust so that for the next 10 minutes, you can be perfectly still. For the practice of Yoga Nidra now begins. For this practice, we're going to take a trip through the different parts of the body. As I name the different parts of the body, allowing yourself to become aware of that part of your body and encourage it to relax. Maybe even silently saying the name of that body part to yourself after me as you encourage that part of your body to relax. The practice always begins with the right hand. Right hand thumb, second finger, third, fourth, fifth finger. Back of the right hand, palm of the hand, right wrist, lower arm, elbow, upper arm, right shoulder, armpit, chest, right rib cage, waist, hip, buttock, right thigh, knee, calf, shin, right ankle, heel, sole of the right foot, top of the foot, right big toe, second toe, third, fourth, fifth toe. Now for the left side of the body. Left hand thumb, second finger, third, fourth, fifth finger. Back of the left hand, palm of the hand, left wrist, lower arm, elbow, upper arm, left shoulder, armpit, chest, left rib cage, waist, hip, buttock, left thigh, knee, calf, shin, left ankle, heel, sole of the left foot, top of the foot, big toe, second toe, third, fourth, fifth toe. Whole of your right arm. Evenly, simultaneously feel the whole of your right arm. Whole of your right leg. Evenly, simultaneously feel the whole of your right leg. Whole of your left arm. Evenly, simultaneously feel the whole of your left arm. Whole of your left leg. Evenly, simultaneously feel the whole of your left leg. Whole of your right arm, whole of your right leg. Feel both right arm and right leg together. Feel the whole right side together. Feel your whole right side. Heavy. Relax. Whole of your left arm, whole of your left leg. Feel both left arm and left leg together. Feel your whole left side together. Feel your whole left side. Heavy. Relax. Whole of the right side of the body. Whole of the left side of the body. Feel both right side and left side together. Feel your whole body together. Feel your whole body lying perfectly still on the floor. And within your whole body, begin to cultivate gratitude. We cultivate gratitude by thinking of one thing or many things for which you are truly grateful. Thinking of one thing or many things for which you are truly grateful. Allowing yourself to become overwhelmed, all consumed with gratitude, grateful in the knowing that it is through gratitude that we create the most fertile soil upon which we plant seeds of intention. So allowing yourself to plant a seed, stating your intention 3 times right now, with feeling, with emphasis. World peace, world peace, world peace. Then once again, gratitude, grateful in the knowing that this seed this intention which you have planted, should we all choose to care for it, to nurture it, to water it, it can and will bloom and grow. Taking a moment now to visualize your intention a part of your reality. Focus, concentrate, visualize. Becoming aware of your natural, spontaneous breath within your still body. Slowly, gently, begin to wake your body from the inside by deepening your breath. For the practice of Yoga Nidra is now complete. Wiggling our fingers and our toes. Nice big inhale to stretch our arms. Exhale to let those arms fall down heavy, bending your knees, walking your feet towards your seat. Hug those legs if you need to, and then eventually rolling off, making your way into a comfortable seat, right? And so if our hips and our back are a little tighter, sitting on a bolster and doing this is a really nice, comfortable seat. So speaking of peace, we have our fundraiser for peace coming up. The auction's up. There's some good stuff on there, you guys. It's in your last newsletter. So if you just go to your inbox and search Michelle Yoga, the last newsletter will come up and there's a link. There's some really great items on there. And we're also doing a meditation with music class, which will be similar to like a new moon practice. It's a full moon practice. So like restorative asana, long holds, lots of breathing. Suitable for everybody, and we have an incredibly talented musician coming in to play, and Nicole Bottles is going to sing some peace chants, which will be lovely. So if you can come, and if you can't come, shopping for peace is always a good thing. Let's end with a nice big group Om. Maybe use this class to be mindful that freedom is not free, and blessed are those who sacrifice their minds, their bodies, and their lives for our freedom. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your practice. Namaste. Namaste, everybody. Namaste. Namaste. Namaste, everyone. Thanks for coming. So the fundraiser is on the 26th.